Remember the days when you used to feel this way about IDV? Because I do. Where did the excitement and suspense go? The adrenaline rush during a chase and the chuckles after a ripper just bonked you on the head after you vault a window. I'd wager now that such a situation would leave you feeling deflated and frustrated. You probably fester with annoyance as you await rescue on a rocket chair, only to be let down by a mercenary that just didn't bring Tide Turner. Then the post-match chat becomes a battleground of blame over a terror shock. Who's really at fault here? This scenario really reflects the current state of the game, and I bet some of you are really itching to debate what I just talked about. The mercenary should have taken Tide Turner. Or, no, it's the fault of the player who got terror shock. They shouldn't have vaulted in front of the Ripper. Take another look at the title of this video. Starting to see my point here? Nostalgia for Identity V's early days is bittersweet. Yes, the game was a chaotic mix of imbalance, but we were all too engrossed in mastering the basics of the game and improving our kite and laughing off our mistakes. Balance and competition really didn't matter much because everyone was learning and making the same mistakes. Balance seemed to naturally occur, as a mistimed rescue against a hunter with detention would just balance out by the fact that a hunter would teleport to the wrong gate. Now, imagine a newcomer to Identity V, eager to dive into the lower tier ranks. What is essential for them to know to be able to compete against today's survivors and hunters? First of all, they must master the art of rescue, then discern to rescue against various hunters, understand role-based rescue priorities, know how to execute an effective body block, and know when to avoid body blocking in the first place. They should judge when to use pallets, prime ciphers, and time final cipher pops, all whilst keeping track of the hunter's teleport or blink cooldown, and a multitude of other things. If you think this is only high tier knowledge, then think again. Even in the lower ranks, these skills are not just expected, they are the norm. Sure, mastering the intricacies of IDV can be really rewarding, and I really do think it can be, but when it becomes a prerequisite for enjoyment, especially for newcomers or casual players, the game loses its charm. It just becomes a formula or a routine, especially if you consider how many matches play out like this. Everyone starts decoding, a survivor gets discovered, the hunter chases until the survivor is downed, 2 to 3 cipher machines are popped, the rescuer rescues before the halfway mark, the hunter downs the same survivor again, the final cipher pops when a survivor gets hit, the survivors then dash to the exit gate, and anyone who can get out, gets out. If the match does deviate from this pattern, it's usually due to the fact that the match was a one-sided snowball victory. This core loop has been the game's backbone for over 5 years now. Speaking of monotony, let's shake this thing up with a quick plug of mine. If you're enjoying this content and want to see more, consider supporting me through the link in the description down below. After something like 3 years of weekly uploads, I hit a bit of a creative wall and I finally burned out. So if you can't support me financially, then just keep on watching and engaging with my content because it means so much to me. Yes, even if you hate me. The devs have introduced new hunters, particularly those from the past 2 years, with abilities that seem to counter every aspect of gameplay that the survivors would ever use, such as kiting, rescuing, and even decoding. It's almost as if they're nudging survivors towards a more collaborative style of gameplay with more stuns, assists, and stuff like that. But for many, this shift has also heightened the frustration of the game, particularly when you're kiting. Take Nyyla for example. Her ability effectively zones you out from certain areas, making looping impossible, and then when she's at full presence you can't even transition kite against her, so what are you supposed to do in the kiting department? If you want a more modern example, then let's talk about Opera Singer. Do I even need to talk about that? No, I don't. If kiting becomes impossible, where's the fun in the chase? High tier matches are no longer really decided by individual skill in kiting, but more in team dynamics and early game decisions. I'm pretty sure you could even make an argument that matches are actually decided in the character picking phase of the game. I'm not here to debate whether IDV leans in favor of hunters or survivors because frankly, I'm just tired of that topic overall. Have you ever wondered why matches against hunters like Mad Eyes, Photographer, or even some cases like Hellember are so exhilarating? It's because matches feel more fluid. There's a blend of excitement and caution that keeps you on your toes in those kind of matches because you just don't go against them very often. You're aware of the potential devastating mistakes you can make against these hunters, yet there's also a sense of fair play, almost like a dance of strategy. The hunter's fruits then show later on in the game as they've used all of their abilities carefully, or maybe did not do exactly that. Their abilities are just so unique and change how the game is played. These hunters are of course very difficult to explain to new players, but they rekindle that feeling of freshness for many of the veteran players among us. And before you think I've overlooked the power creep affecting survivors, think again, because modern survivors seem to have it all as well. Take for example Composer. What's his Achilles heel supposed to be? He's a great decoder with an impressive kiting ability considering he's a decoder, and a passive that reveals hunters when they're around him that can pinpoint hunters' locations whilst he's decoding in his rhythm game. This last passive might seem a little trivial, but it effectively neutralizes what could have been the only chink in his armor. This design philosophy has leaked into nearly every character design, removing the risk and uniqueness that once defined picking a certain character in the game. Take the prisoner's self-recharging shock ability for example, or the fact that Barmaid doesn't get as harshly punished by taking a drink right in front of the hunter. Risk and speciality has been taken away from all hunters and survivors, and has been replaced by essentially being a jack of all trades, but with a different flavor. How often do you see this in other games? I don't think you do. Why I had to tiptoe around saying whether IDV is either hunter-sided or survivor-sided is due to yet another issue that the game has. And it's an issue that leads a lot of players to get really tired of the game. It's the community's toxicity. Every gaming community, of course, has its own share of the toxicity, but IDV's survivor scene seems particularly adept at tearing each other apart after a match. I understand it is a defense mechanism, but it's also a way to hide your own mistakes, and it leaves a sour taste for any casual player playing the game. The reason for this is the intensity of a victory and the bitterness of defeat that are magnified by the game's asymmetrical nature. As a survivor, you often have minimal control over the match itself, limited to essentially your own individual efforts, like kiting or decoding. This is very unlike other competitive games where a single player can solo the enemy team, but in IDV, a hunter can disregard you completely and eliminate them, resulting in a loss for you, and there's nothing that you really could have done. Because of this, wins become intoxicating because the losses are just so devastating. The point I just made segues beautifully into the community's fixation on balance, and if you grasp my previous argument and acknowledge the inherent asymmetrical nature of IDV, it's clear that perfect balance is unattainable and should not actually be attained in the first place. Yet the frustration stemming from defeat has shifted the game's focus from enjoyment to a relentless pursuit of minimizing losses. When I personally boot up IDV, I'm not entering a high-stakes tournament. I'm going to play a mobile game where players are wearing Hello Kitty costumes. Don't get me wrong though, the competitive aspect of IDV is amazing indeed, and I really do love watching tournaments, but the expectation for flawless gameplay in every match is where I start to draw a line in the sand. This non-stop pressure for players has led to creator burnout, and often creators just leaving the game completely. Take any of the new survivors and hunters that have been released in the game. Nobody sat down to just enjoy jump scaring survivors with Ivy, nor did anyone sit down to have fun playing aeroplanist by messing around by flying over their head or something like that. Instead, people instantly needed to know exactly how to abuse those abilities to be able to kite and then last as long as possible in the match. Is that fun? Not really. I wanted to cover the worsening situation for solo queue survivors, but that should be a video on its own. Needless to say, the game is going further and further into a competitive route, and eventually even you that love the game so much will get exhausted and lose your edge in the game. What can we do about that? I'm still not that sure. What do you think? But to bring back those memories of when you first started playing IDV, how about you watch this video over here where I did a survey to find out which survivors people picked for the first time when they first started playing IDV.